Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos. Espero que estén muy bien. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos en esta sesión informativa sobre cómo poder financiar los estudios de posgrado. Mi nombre es Mabel Martínez y yo soy la asesora del programa Education USA. Eh, con nosotros el día de hoy y para abordar este tema nos acompaña Jennifer Hunter de la Universidad de Rice y dos estudiantes de doctorado también que están estudiando en Rice, Rosa y Manuel. Ellos nos van a estar ayudando a contestar preguntas si es que tienen. Siéntanse con la libertad de hacer sus preguntas en el chat en cualquier momento. Esta primera parte la voy a, antes de entrar en materia, les voy a dar una pequeña introducción acerca de qué es Education USA y esta parte va a ser en español, pero el resto de la sesión va a ser en inglés. ¿Vale? Entonces, como les dije, mi nombre es Mabel Martínez y yo soy la asesora del programa Education USA para los estados de Jalisco, Colima y Nayarit. Para los que no nos conocen, Education USA es la oficina encargada de promover los estudios hacia los Estados Unidos por parte del Departamento de Estado de los Estados Unidos. Somos una red global de centros de asesoría que estamos en todo el mundo. Hay más de 400 centros en más de 170 países. Entonces, si ustedes nos están viendo quizá en El Salvador o en Colombia, seguramente hay un centro de asesoría Education USA cerca de ustedes. Y nuestra misión principal es acercarles las oportunidades de estudio a nivel superior para que las puedan aprovechar y podamos acompañarlos nosotros durante el proceso. Nosotros damos asesoría y guía de manera gratuita para que ustedes puedan entender mejor el contexto educativo en los Estados Unidos y sea más sencillo para ustedes comenzar estos procesos. Aquí en México somos una red que se compone de 23 centros. En Jalisco, para los que son de Jalisco, nuestra institución anfitriona o con quien estamos trabajando es con la Universidad de Guadalajara. Sin embargo, eso no quiere decir que atendamos solamente a la comunidad UDG. Atendemos a cualquier persona interesada en estudiar en los Estados Unidos. Tenemos en Jalisco la fortuna de contar con dos centros de asesoría, uno en la Coordinación de Internacionalización y otro en la Biblioteca Pública Juan José Arriola, dentro de un espacio que se llama American Spaces o Esquina Franklin, Guadalajara. Es un espacio donde pueden ustedes conocer más de la cultura de los Estados Unidos a través de diferentes actividades, como pláticas, clubes de conversación, talleres, etcétera. Entonces, al final de la presentación les voy a dejar los datos de contacto de nosotros para que se puedan acercar y conocer más de estas actividades que son gratuitas. Concretamente, ¿qué actividades hacemos nosotros como centros de Education USA? Ofrecemos asesorías personalizadas sobre cualquier duda que puedan tener en un proceso de solicitud de admisión a un programa de estudios en Estados Unidos a nivel superior. Ofrecemos sesiones informativas como estas. También los ayudamos explicándoles o promoviendo con ustedes algunas de las becas o de los financiamientos más comunes para cubrir sus estudios en los Estados Unidos. En los centros de asesoría también contamos con materiales, guías, de exámenes estandarizados o diferentes materiales para que ustedes puedan prepararse para este proceso de admisión. Tenemos talleres y también de vez en cuando organizamos ferias presenciales o virtuales. Estamos trabajando de manera híbrida, lo que quiere decir que pues a veces podrán unirse a eventos como este en línea, pero también tenemos sesiones informativas como estas de manera presencial. Aquí en Guadalajara tenemos una estrecha relación con el Consulado de los de los Estados Unidos en Guadalajara. Si no siguen sus redes sociales, síganlos, porque también ahí se promueven todas las actividades, todas las becas, todas las convocatorias y todas las oportunidades para estudiar en los Estados Unidos. ¿Vale? Entonces, pues a través de esta oficialidad que nos da ser un programa del gobierno de los Estados Unidos, tenemos contacto con muchas instituciones de ese país. Muchas de ellas tienen oficinas en México. Tenemos acceso a diferentes redes de alumnos, acceso a programas del gobierno y muchos otros beneficios. Entonces, estos son algunos de las success stories que tenemos en el centro. Son algunos, muy poquitos, pero la idea es que ustedes se animen y vean que sí hay estudiantes que se asesoran con nosotros y son ganadores de algunos de los apoyos que se ofertan. Y bueno, el día de hoy vamos a hablar específicamente de doctorados, y para ello, I'm going to switch to English now. And for talking about specifically how you can study in the US a doctorate program, we have a special guest. As I mentioned in the beginning, she is Jennifer Hunter. She is an assistant dean in the Office of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies at Rice University. She promotes Rice University as the best place for graduate study and helps graduate students develop to their full potential by coordinating and offering opportunities designed to supplement the graduate programs themselves. She also is proud to work with the Fulbright community in Rice and with the graduate student ambassadors groups. Jennifer has worked in higher education since 2005. She has a bachelor's degree in public relations from the University of Florida and a master's of science in library and information studies from Florida State University. She loves to travel, and wherever you live in the world, she probably wants to go there next. She hopes to visit all 7 continents one day. So far, 6 are down, 1 to go. Yay! And thank you very much, Jennifer, and thank you very much, Rosa and Manuel, for being here and helping us navigate through what requires through the process of a doctorate program. So I'm gonna give Jennifer the floor.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you so much, Mabel, and thank you for allowing us to be here today to speak to everyone. We actually have 3 current students here. So Rosa, Manuel, and Astrid are all here in the chat. They will be answering questions, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves really, really briefly as well. But if we could go ahead and go to the next slide, our talk today is going to be about fully funded PhD programs in the U.S. And so Mabel did a great introduction on me and my background, but I wanted to also make sure that I shared my email address here. And so if you have questions after this webinar and you would like to get in touch with me, please do email me. I'm always happy to talk more about things that are on your mind about the graduate application process. I also wanted to talk just really briefly about a couple of the groups that I support. So Rosa, Manuel, and Astrid are all part of our graduate student ambassadors team. And the graduate student ambassadors are students from all over the world, from all fields of study on campus. If you have a question and you want to connect with a current student, please do feel free to reach out to one of our ambassadors. There are many, many ambassadors in, like I said, all fields of study, and they would be very happy to talk to you about their journey to graduate school. And then, of course, like Mabel said, we have a really big Fulbright community here at Rice. Rosa is one of our Fulbrighters as well. And our community is graduate students who either have gone abroad to do a Fulbright and come back to the United States, or they are current students who are pursuing a graduate degree and they hold a Fulbright grant. And so if you're interested in getting fully funded graduate education, Fulbright is a great thing to apply for. Make sure that you talk to your Education USA advisors about what you want to accomplish. And if you want to apply to this, they can coach you through it. They are experts in this and they will know all the ins and outs. And so please make sure that you use your Education USA advisors as a resource. And before we move on, I did want to give Rosa, Manuel, and Astrid the floor. If you wouldn't mind just saying a quick hello, maybe where you're from in Mexico, what you're studying, what year you are, and maybe something that surprised you about grad school. And Rosa, you're first on my screen, so I'm going to start with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosa. I am originally from Monterrey and I am on my 6th year in the PhD program for System Synthetic and Physical Biology at Rice. Something that surprised me of graduate school is just it's so different from undergrad, from licenciatura. I came straight from undergrad, and so yeah, it was surprising for me to see that you didn't require a master's degree to apply and to get accepted. So that was super nice for me. So yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Manuel?
Hi, everyone. My name is Manuel Carmona Pichardo. I'm from Pachuca, Hidalgo, Mexico, and I'm a rising third year in the chemistry department. Well, now a third year in the chemistry department. I'm doing the PhD in chemistry focused on nanotechnology. And what surprised me about like the graduate studies is that it's fully funded. So normally I did my master's before coming to grad school here in the US. And it was just to be like, oh, you need to get like a scholarship from from either CONACYT or from somewhere else to study. And here is like fully funded. So it was really surprising for me.
And last but not least, Astrid.
Hi everyone, I am Astrid. I am from Monterrey too. And I'm in my 4th year doing my PhD in material science and nanoengineering. And something that surprised, I was going to say also that I didn't know that the PhD was fully funded, but Manuel already said that, so I have to think in something else. So I think it was social life. I thought like grad students were just like the whole day in the lab and they won't socialize at all. But I think we have a lot of events for grad students, so that's something I was not expecting.
We should also talk about LAGSA towards the end as well, the Latin American Grad Student Association. We'll keep that for later. Thank you all for being here. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And Rosa, Manuel, and Astrid will be monitoring that and helping to answer your questions as we go. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. And I think I start with a pop quiz. So we're going to do a few games in the middle of the presentation, myths versus realities. And so this first question is going to be about the PhD itself and what it is. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so, just kind of thinking about this, a PhD, which one of these things is the reality and which ones are the myth? And if anyone has a guess, you can feel free to put that in the chat of which one the reality is here. So is a PhD just more coursework, a degree that could be completed in 3 years? If you were listening to Rosa, you've already got one crossed off, but something that you need a master's degree to do. Formatted like a job, or is all about the thesis? Anyone have a guess? The real fact. So I'll give you the answer here if you're not sure. Oh, sure, Axel.
Yeah, hello. I would say that definitely involves more coursework than studying an undergrad program, but also is focused on in research.
Yeah, so there's a couple things here that I want to point out. So we'll talk a little bit about the PhD and what it is and what it's formatted, but actually the PhD is going to be less coursework than you imagine. So most of the time you're going to be doing research, like Axel said, and not very many courses, or you're not going to be taking many courses really. The degree is actually a longer term degree, so it usually cannot be completed in 3 years. We'll talk about that as well. Generally, you do not need a master's degree to go into the PhD, so you can go straight from your bachelor's. And while it can feel like it's all about the thesis most days, Most of the time, the PhD is going to be formatted the most like a job. So really what you're going to be doing is work. Like Axel said, you're going to be doing a lot of research. You're going to go in every day to do this research, and that's going to be pretty much your full-time job during the course of the PhD. So when you think about what a PhD is, it's going to be formatted most like a job. Some days it can feel like it's all about the thesis, though. And next slide, please. So what is a PhD? We learned a little bit already about what a PhD can be. Generally, like we talked about, you're going to be an independent researcher. So the first 2 years of your PhD degree, probably going to be mostly in class with a little bit of time in the lab and starting your research work. After those first 2 years, the rest of the time, you're really going to be doing your PI's research, your thesis research, and not taking very many classes at all. So full-time researcher, that's going to be your job while you're in grad school. There's going to be a lot of scientific collaboration. So not only with your advisor and with your colleagues in your lab group, but you're going to have a lot of networking and access to other faculty members, to researchers all around the campus that you're in, and in partner universities and institutions. So definitely you're going to be collaborating scientifically with a lot of people around campus. And then professional development is going to be a big part of your PhD journey. So you're going to want to take advantage of all of the resources that a university will give to you. If they have a career center or a writing center, or you want to focus on teaching, make sure that you think about these things in terms of your career goals. And so take advantage of those resources while you're at university. And next slide, please. So what can you do with a PhD? So there's a lot that you can do. And generally what we hear from students is, I really want to either go into academia or industry. Those seem to be the two tracks that I hear the most about. But just know that a PhD prepares you for a lot of different careers. So certainly people can go on to work in government or in consulting and things like that. So really, if you were thinking about pursuing a PhD, it's because you love research, you're passionate about increasing the capacity of human knowledge or discovering something new. And so really think carefully about what you want to do with your PhD, and know that there are plenty of options and PhDs are in high demand. Next slide, please. So PhD, why do you want to get a PhD? I think it's really important to have a why defined before you jump into a PhD. We already talked a little bit about this, but the degree can take 4 to 6 years to complete, and you're going to be working a lot on research. So you really need to think about the time investment that you're putting into the degree and what you ultimately want to do with your career. The PhD can give you ultimate expertise in a field. You will be the expert on your particular field of study. And so that could be a really good reason in and of itself to get a PhD. You want to expand or advance our knowledge of a specific subject area. If you want to advance your career, if you know you want a research career, or maybe you want to be a professor, you're probably going to need a PhD to do that. And of course, people will call you doctor at the end, which is a really cool perk. And I'm looking forward to calling Rosa, Manuel, and Astrid doctors one day very soon. And it'll be a very exciting day for all of us. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the different degree types so that you can put the PhD in context. So doctoral degrees are a thesis-based degree that take 4 to 6 years to complete. A thesis is your own research project that you're going to write about, and it's going to be a rather large document that you're going to be working on for a number of years. And this is you're going to be advancing human knowledge, like we talked about. You're going to be discovering something new. The thesis is what documents that discovery and that research. Typically, the PhD is a fully funded program. So what that means is that your tuition will be waived and you are offered a stipend, or essentially a paycheck, to go to graduate school to be a PhD student. And you do not need a master's degree to apply to a PhD program. That's typical of many programs in the US. You can go straight from the bachelor's to the PhD. And at many programs, you're going to earn the master's as part of your PhD program. So for research-based master's degrees, you may also think, okay, I want to get a little bit more research experience before I jump into the PhD. I want to see if I like research and I'm going to spend some more time on it. That could be a reason to pursue a research-based master's degree. And these can be roughly earned in 2 years. You're going to be doing mostly coursework in these, but you're also going to be doing research and writing a thesis. Most of the time at Rice and at many universities, you earn the master's as part of the PhD program. I would also note that while the doctoral degree is fully funded, the research master's degree can offer funding on different levels. So maybe your tuition is waived, but you may not be guaranteed a stipend. And so you might have to compete for a research or a teaching position, and you really need to clarify that with the universities that you are applying to. And then professional master's degrees, these are things like your MBA, and they will give you an edge in industry, but there's typically not funding associated with them. So there's no tuition waiver usually or any kind of fellowship. So really just to put this into context of what the PhD is and what you should keep in mind. And next slide, please. So as we talked about, if you plan on teaching at a university, you will need a PhD degree. And I would also note that, you shouldn't get too tied to the type of degree, the name of the degree that you're interested in. So there's plenty of things out there that overlap a lot. I think for sure Rosa and Manuel and Astrid could all tell us about their fields of study and how interdisciplinary those are, and their advisors overlapping into different departments. So really, when you're talking about a PhD, the most important thing is the faculty member that you're going to be working for and the research you're going to be doing under that person. So really, when you're thinking about a PhD, think more about the faculty choice versus the name of the program or the school. You really want to focus on the research part of things. And note that not all universities will offer a master's and a PhD in a field. So for example, at Rice University, we only have a PhD in political science. We do not have a master's. So if you're thinking about jumping into the PhD, I think it's a great choice. You don't have to worry so much about getting the master's because you don't need that to be a PhD student. And next slide, please. So just to clarify, PhD is completely funded research. You're going to be working for an advisor, and they're going to be paying you to do research in their labs, and you're also going to be doing your own research at the same time. Next slide, please. Okay, another pop quiz, and so we'll see what you think about this one. And this is going to be more about the prep work. So, which one is reality? To get into grad school, out of these things, what is the reality? What do you need? So co-author status on a lot of papers, great letters of recommendation, top GRE scores, paying your application fees, or extensive research experience. Does anyone have a guess on which one is the best one? Yes, Angel.
Hi, everyone. Well, I would go for top GRE scores and probably great letters of recommendation.
Yeah, so great letters of rec is the answer that I would pick here. I think in the past, we used to focus a lot on GRE scores, but what's funny these days is that many universities are waiving the GRE entirely. So this might not even be a test that you have to take for some universities. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but certainly great letters of recommendation. Anytime that you have an opportunity to speak to your admissions committee, either directly or have somebody on your behalf do that, take advantage of it. So great letters of recommendation, you need to be thoughtful about who's going to write those letters. Yes, excellent answer, Angel. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so now we're going to talk about prepping your application. What kind of work do you need to do? And so really, when you think about grad school and your PhD applications, what I have heard from most students is that they will put together a big spreadsheet of all of the things that are important to them and all of the details about each program that they're considering. So certainly think about what you want to do in grad school, what you ultimately want to research, and start researching schools and specifically researching faculty that you would want to work with. The type of program is important as well. And we'll talk about this, but what I mean is, do you need to have a faculty connection as part of the application process? Or how do you nurture those relationships? So that's what I mean by type of program. Funding opportunities, really important to note these in your big spreadsheet. So what is the stipend they are offering? Are there opportunities for you to earn other money as well? And so make sure that you take note of those. I think Astrid talked about this, but a supportive community, where is a place that you're going to be happy? Where can you see yourself living for 4 to 6 years? So I'm from Florida originally, as Mabel said. I do not like ice and snow. I'm very happy in Houston. And so if that's something that's important to you as well, make sure that you note that. And these spreadsheets can be very personal. Your data points can be very personal. You know, maybe it's the most important thing for you besides the research is you want to have a good gym on campus. That is fantastic, but make sure you know what's important to you and take note of what universities are offering you those things. And I'm probably going to sound like a broken record throughout this presentation, as we say, but make sure that you're going to be somewhere that you're going to be happy, because 4 to 6 years is a long time to be somewhere. You want to be around people that are going to celebrate your success, lift you up when things don't go well in the lab, because we know if you've done research, every day in the lab is not going to be the best day. There's going to be hard days too. So you want to be with people who have your back. And let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so how do you know what program is a good fit? And in terms of PhD, it really all comes back to research and research advisor. So programs that are a good fit are going to have the research that you want to do. They're going to be doing that research. The programs are going to have at least 3 faculty members that are doing work that you would be happy doing. So that's going to be very, very important. Of course, a good fit is also going to be a place that you're going to be happy, that you're going to be supported. So those are going to be things that you need to look for. When you're making the spreadsheet, you also need to take careful note of all of the application materials that you need. So generally, there are some standards that you can go by, but each program may be a little bit different. They may ask you for different essays. They may ask you for different materials like a portfolio. So you really need to pay attention to what programs are asking you and when you need all of these materials ready. That's going to be really important as well. And then, of course, in your spreadsheet, you want to take note of resources. So we talked about being supported, being in an environment that you're happy in. I think resources are a really important part of that. So is there a career center that's going to help place you in a job or help you get an internship? Are there facilities available for you to do the lab work that you want to do? Are there good facilities on campus? Is there a place where you can get training to be a teacher if you really want to go into academia and start to learn how to teach? Where are places that are going to support your goals and your dreams? So think carefully about the resources that you're being offered by each university. And we can go to the next slide. So how do you get ready for grad school applications? If you're still maybe in the early stages and you're thinking, okay, maybe I'll do a PhD one day, but I'm just trying to get more information, the best thing that you can do right now to prepare is read some journals. Grad school, I think the number one thing I hear from students about, oh, this really surprised me about the academic part of grad school is they did not know it was so much writing. So you're going to be writing a lot of papers. And the best way to learn about this is to read some of the papers that are being written. So go into the different journals of your field of study, see what grad students are writing about, see what's going on in your field. If you have a little bit of research experience, get more research experience. So we talked about the PhD being a little coursework, but mostly research. Make sure you love it before you dive in and do it. Make sure that you get a lot of practice in it and you feel really comfortable going in and knowing that this is what you want to do. That's not to say that research experience is required, but it's a great thing to have, especially because you're going to be spending so much time doing it. Research schools and what they focus in, but again, the most important thing is the number of faculty at a particular institution doing research that you want to do. And so if you have your heart set on one professor, you don't always know if that faculty member is taking students, if they have the funding to take students. So make sure wherever you go, there's a number of people that you would be happy working with so that you have some choice there. Faculty research projects, again, really, really important. And then apply to fellowships. So you have Education USA here. They are going to walk you through all of the great fellowship opportunities that are available to you. Fulbright is going to be a great thing. CONACYT would be a great thing as well. So think about the things that you can apply to and make sure that you apply to those. And next slide, please. We talked about working with Education USA, but this is really about seeking advice, making sure that you're talking to people about what you want to do and getting good counsel from your peers, from your mentors. So talk to your faculty advisors about what you want to do. Talk to your friends that are already in grad school and ask them for their advice. Ask them what they would do if they were you, or what recommendations that they would have. I think when you're trying to figure out what you want to do, understanding how admissions committees work is a really important thing. And so typically at Rice, and for most programs that you're going to apply to, admissions are not centralized. So what that means is every program at Rice makes their own admissions decisions. Every PhD program is different. And these admissions committees are typically made up of faculty. Often they are junior faculty that are trying to build their labs. They're going to be super hungry to recruit you and impress you. And so really what they're looking for is superstar students that are going to help them kind of build their sort of research track. And so really when you're thinking about admissions committees and your application, you got to think about who your audience is. So all of your application materials should be tailored to an admissions committee that's going to be made up of junior faculty. You should also know that these faculty members are not always going to be the most knowledgeable about your institution or how things work in Mexico, for example. So talk to them about your promedio, talk to them about your class rank if that's important, or what your institution is known for. Help educate the faculty admissions committees, and you're really paying it forward for the people that come behind you as well. So make sure that you talk yourself up, sell your institution, sell yourself most of all. I know it can be really hard to talk about all of the great things that we ourselves do, but definitely you should take the time in the application materials to do that. And next slide, please. All right, so if you already know what kind of research you want to do, that's great. If you don't really have that narrowed down, that's okay too. So if you've got a specific subfield in mind, you know, like, okay, I want to go into political science and I want to study comparative politics. That's great. And look for schools or faculty that specialize in those areas. But if you do not have that subfield narrowed down, that's okay too. Just look for places that you have a few choices of faculty members that you would be happy to work with. Know that competitive applications can look very different just from program to program. And so, you know, we've got a chemist here, we have a materials science here. The application pools can look very different. And really what it comes down to is the fit for the research that's being done at that program. So really keep that in mind, and don't get too hung up on what a competitive application looks like. I think research experience is important, but if you have already graduated, if you're working in industry, you already know that experience can take a lot of forms. So you have great skills and great experience that you can bring to the table. You don't always need a ton of research experience to do that. You really just want to showcase your potential to conduct research, and that's going to be what you want to talk to the admissions committee about in your materials. Next slide, please. Okay, another pop quiz. I hope you are ready. I hope you've been practicing. So let's see what's next for us. So in terms of the application itself, the most important aspect of the application, what do you think it is? Is it recommendation letters, your GRE score, your promedio, contact with potential advisors, or the statement of purpose? What would be the most important aspect of the grad application? It's similar to the other question. It's tricky. Any guesses? SOP? I see one guess in the chat. So yeah, I would agree with that. And potential advisors. I would agree with that too. I think there's two right answers here. So Christian and Juan Manuel, I think you nailed it. So statement of purpose is really a document that's going to be about your journey to grad school, what you want to do. It outlines what you want to do. So that's going to be key for the admissions committee to get to know you. And then contact with advisors is really, really important as well. And I think we will talk about this in a couple slides and how you do that, how you approach faculty and potential advisors. So great job, both of you. Okay, next slide. Okay, so now we're going to cover the components of the grad school application and what it actually looks like. So generally, for every application that you submit for a PhD program, you can generally expect these components to be a part of it. We want a copy of your transcripts. So anywhere that you have attended academically, we want a copy of that so that we can see kind of your academic trajectory. Graduate record examination, so the GRE, this is being waived for most programs at Rice University. And I think we'll talk about this in a few slides as well, but thinking carefully about, do you take the GRE or not? We know that it can be a financial commitment to take this test. And so should you really take it or should you not? That's something we'll talk about. English language proficiency. So at Rice, we have you choose between TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. We do not have a preference on which test you take. And so I know if it was me, I have heard Duolingo is the most affordable and I love a good deal. So that probably would be what I choose, but it's completely up to you which test that you take. We have no preference and we're not going to hold one higher than the other. Application fee is a pretty standard part of most grad school applications. You should always ask for fee waivers. It's not going to count against you if you ask for a waiver, and the worst that they can say is no. So always ask for these waivers. Letters of recommendation, these are usually 3 letters. Sometimes universities will allow you to submit more and we'll consider that supplementary materials, but we'll talk more about rec letters as well. Personal statement or statement of purpose, this is probably the single most important piece that you will prepare for your application. We'll talk more in depth about it, but really be thoughtful and start early to craft this document. Diversity statement, I believe I have a slide on this also, but we'll talk more about what this means and how you should think about this when you're coming into grad school as an international student. CV or resume, these documents are a little bit different. For most PhD programs, you will be asked for a CV, and we'll break that down as well. And then research experience, it's not required, but if you have things that you'd like to show in terms of your research experience, like a paper or a conference attendance, certainly you can add these things to your application and upload things as supplementary materials. So let's do a deeper dive into some of these components. So the GRE, I think this is a big question that people grapple with. So, there's lots of language out there. Some schools may say it's optional. Some schools may say it's waived. Some schools may say they suggest that you submit scores. And so how do you take all this information in and figure out what you need to do? Our recommendation is if you have scores that you are proud of, go ahead and send those scores into the universities that you're applying to. Even if they say the GRE is waived, they may consider it a supplementary material and it could help your application. Many programs, though, if they say it's waived, they may not look at it at all because they want to give equal footing to all of the students that are applying. So it may not be something that they actually look at, but if you have scores that you're proud of, our advice would be to err on the side of caution and just go ahead and submit them if you have them. If they are suggesting scores, it really means they want to see them, but they don't want to say it's required. So you probably should go ahead and submit GRE scores if they're suggesting that you submit scores. There's typically 3 sections of the GRE. It's formatted much like the SAT. So quantitative section, verbal section, and a writing section. Take this test early. Make sure you take it at least a month before your application deadlines because it does take some time to get those scores to the universities you're applying to. And you really want to send those scores in through the testing service. You don't want to send them in on your own because they want those to be the official records. Know that competitive scores are a really hard thing to narrow down for PhD because so much of it comes down to research fit and faculty fit. So really don't worry too much about the GRE. This is just to give you some background of kind of what you can expect going through applications. And next section, please. And I guess one thing about the GRE, I would say, so Education USA, again, if you are thinking about taking the GRE, go to them and ask for any resources that they have to help you prepare for the test. So that's going to be really important. There's plenty of free resources out there. Make sure that you're working with them to get those practice tests done and make sure that you have all of the support that you need. So recommendation letters. For PhD, typically you're going to want at least 1 letter from a professor. They want to hear from somebody who can speak to your academic abilities, who can speak to your academic potential as well. So for PhD students, really important to have at least 1 letter from a faculty member. I know if you've been in industry for a while and you don't have those connections with faculty that are strong anymore because time has passed, that's fine. And so you can use letters from colleagues or a manager, but if you can get a letter from a faculty member, that would be the preference. Make sure that you review all the submission requirements before you ask them for letters. Help them out as well. So give them maybe a highlighted reel of all of the great things that you have done. So bullet it out in an email and let them know how great you are, because you're all very, very amazing and doing great things. Attach a copy of your CV so that they have a more in-depth view of what you've been up to and what you're working on. And also tell them a little bit about the universities you're applying to so that they have a picture of what the university is known for, kind of what you want to do research-wise. Give them a deadline. Let them know you're going to be following up with them and staying on top of them. I wouldn't annoy them too much. Don't email them too much, but a few times while you're going towards that deadline, I think is important. We all know that faculty members, that our colleagues can get busy and they may drop this or get behind. So we need to help stay on top of them. So don't be afraid to give them a deadline and follow up with them. And think carefully about who you want to have speak for you. So the people that write your recommendation letters should be people that know you well, that can speak to your academic potential, again, that can talk about how awesome you are. And so make sure that you are thoughtful about who your letter writers are. And we can go to the next slide. Statement of purpose, we talked about this already, but this is the most important document that you can write for grad school. Make sure that for each place you apply, this essay is tailored to the school that you're applying to. And so this is your chance, again, to speak directly to the admissions committee, and you want to tell your story. You want to talk about the spark that led you to applying to grad school. How did you get interested in this field? When you're in graduate school, what do you hope to do? Who you want to work with? You should always name faculty you want to work with in this letter. Probably naming 3 people is a good frame of reference there. And really think about how you can say as much as you can with as few words as possible. We talked about grad school being a lot of writing, and so you want to show your command of language and really impress them with your writing skills and make sure that you follow all of their directions carefully. Sometimes they'll give you a prompt to answer in the statement of purpose. They want you to talk about specific things. If they don't give you a prompt, your goal really is to talk about the why, the unspoken question. Why this university? Why this program? And that's going to be what you need to talk about in your SOP. And we can go to the next slide. So connecting with faculty, I think I mentioned this, but in the US, there's 2 models of admission. The first model is direct admission. You need to build a relationship with your potential advisor while you're applying. The second model is a cohort-based model of admission. So you don't necessarily have to have that connection, but it's a great thing to have. And you can apply to grad school without it, but again, we really encourage you to reach out to faculty. And so typically with a cohort admission, you're admitted to the program, you get to do rotations in different labs or meet different faculty before you ultimately decide who you settle down with. For direct admission, again, you really need that partnership agreed to before you get your offer of admission pretty much. So reaching out to faculty, a great idea for anyone who's thinking about a PhD. And if you're applying for this round, this fall 24 round, now is a great time to start reaching out to faculty. So how do you do that? How do you write to faculty and ask what you need? And we can go to the next slide. So sending an email, of course, is the easiest way to do this. Before you send that email, do your homework, research these faculty members, think about what they're working on and how that interests you and how it fits with your interests. And in the email, ask them thoughtful questions. I think flattery goes a long way, especially with faculty members. So you can always talk about their research and of course, how great it is and how much it's moving the field forward, but be authentic and really talk to them about what interests you about their work. Sell yourself. So much like you did with your recommendation letters, put a highlight reel of yourself in this email. It doesn't have to be too long, maybe 4 or 5 bullets, but just the top things that you would want a faculty member to know about you. Attach your CV. I think it's really important to make sure that information is easily accessible to faculty, and so they can click it really quickly and read through what you are going to be pursuing, what your academic aspirations are. You have 2 goals when you're reaching out to faculty. The first one is to get a meeting with them and talk about if they have a spot for you in their lab. The second goal is to get your name out there. So if you don't get a response, don't be discouraged. You can still apply to the program. Really, you never know who is on the admissions committee. So the people that you're writing to may be on the admissions committee. You never know. And your goal is to get your name out there so that they remember you when they're reviewing applications and they review your application carefully. I would also say if you're connecting with faculty, again, educate them. So talk to them about your promedio, talk to them about your university and what it's known for. I think that's important to note when you're talking to faculty via email. And we can go to the next slide. So generally, this is going to be the timeline for PhD applications. There's no time like the present. So you can start all of these things now. It's basically September anyway. You can start that application, start thinking about who your recommenders should be, start drafting your essays. This should take you a lot of time and you're going to go through a few drafts. So go ahead and start that now. By October, you should be taking or have taken all of your tests. If you decide to take the GRE, it's a great time to take it, your English tests, and your recommenders should be submitting their letters at this time. They should be submitting as early as possible. Reaching out to faculty, I think, is a great thing to start doing now. It probably should be in September with everything else, but go ahead and start reaching out to potential advisors. In November and December, that's when deadlines are starting to hit. So you're going to want to have all your application materials in early and get it off your plate. You can enjoy the winter holidays at peace. You don't have to worry about your applications if you get it done early. In January or February, that's typically when you're going to hear from universities about potentially visiting the campuses that you've applied to. Maybe they'll want to do some kind of virtual interview with you. And then in March is usually when you're going to receive your decision. And by April 15th, you should make a decision for yourself. And next slide, please. One other thing I would recommend, get as much information as you can. So again, 4 to 6 years for a PhD, it's a significant time investment. You want to make sure that you're in the right place. Work with Education USA, use their advice. Visit as many webinars as you can, talk to as many people from different universities as you can. Just get every piece of information that you need to make the best decision for yourself and make sure that you are being active in that and getting what you need. But these are my recommendations. Signing up for mailing lists, I think, is a great thing. I know none of us like to get spam email, but often these universities will send you application fee waivers through the mailing list that you sign up for. So great idea to have that, kind of list in your pocket if you want to apply to multiple schools. And next slide, please. Okay, so really quickly about Rice, I'll talk briefly, but I think it's probably better if you hear it from the students who are actually living it. But Rice University, if you don't know much about us, we are a small private research institution and really focused on STEM, natural sciences, engineering, social sciences, and humanities. We offer degrees in all of these schools. I like this photo. If you don't know much about Houston, it kind of shows a little bit of our city. So this is the iconic kind of main building of Rice. Over there on the side, you can see downtown Houston. And then just out of sight on the other side of the screen is the Texas Medical Center. So the TMC is the largest medical center in the world. If you're at all interested in healthcare related research, it's a great place to be and study. We never like to get sick, but Houston's also, if you've got to do it, a good place to get sick. You're in great hands. There's plenty of people that will care for you here as well. And next slide, please. So where is Rice? If you don't know, it's in Houston, Texas. We're about an hour from the beach. So the Floridian in me really loves that. I love being close to the beach again. It's been really nice. Great thing about Houston as well, if you don't know much about our city, great place to eat. It's a super diverse city, the most diverse in the United States. We're also the 4th largest city. We have this great influx of people, this great diversity. And so of course, if you are food motivated like myself, it's just a fantastic place to go out to eat. I think my dean, my boss often mentions that about 40% of people in Houston speak Spanish at the dinner table. So I think you'd find it a very welcoming place as well. And next slide, please. A little bit more about Rice and the schools that we have here. So for PhD, you're going to be looking at business, engineering, humanities, natural science, and social science. We do have a fantastic architecture and music program. We unfortunately don't have PhDs in those programs, but if you know of folks that are interested in coming for masters, we would love to talk to them. And next slide. So we covered this a lot, but again, PhD funding, qualified PhD students receive full tuition support. There is no extra application that you have to fill out for this funding. Anyone who's admitted to a PhD program at Rice will receive this funding. And the stipends at Rice typically start at $32,000 a year over 12 months. They can be higher in some programs as well. Next slide, please. These are our general requirements. So 3.0 or higher GPA or equivalent. GRE and GMAT is waived for most programs, but if you're thinking about a PhD or a Master's of Business, they will require either the GRE or the GMAT. You can choose which one. TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo, of course. And know that individual departments may have additional requirements. So these are the general requirements, but you should really think about each program and what they are requiring from you. And next slide. A few events that I wanted to share with you. So we do have a lot of upcoming coffee chats. These are virtual drop-in webinars. We would love to see you at a coffee chat. It's your chance to meet with graduate student ambassadors and get more information from them about what it's like to be a grad student in the United States broadly. And so we would love to see you there. And I can put a link to those in the chat as well. And next slide. A couple other things, if you're thinking about a PhD program, we can offer you an application fee waiver, and this is going to be from October 18th to November 1st. I will put a link in the chat to this as well. But if you're thinking about PhD, go ahead and sign up for this program, get your application in early, and we are happy to waive your application fee. Next slide. And a couple events that are coming up that we'd love to have you visit for. So we're not too far away. We'd love to see some of you here at the Gulf Coast Undergraduate Research Symposium. This is an event that we're hosting in October. If you've done research in STEM fields and you'd like to get practice presenting your research, maybe you want to network with current faculty and graduate students and just meet people that are interested in science. Again, we'd love to have you join us for GCURS at Rice. And really, it's a great way to kind of hone your presentation skills a little bit more for those in STEM fields. There are travel awards that are available, so we'd love to see you there. And I think last but not least, so start Rice if you are a social scientist and you're thinking about graduate study, or you want to learn more about statistical modeling or how to apply statistical techniques to your research. This is a great program as well. The early bird deadline for registration is tomorrow. I think the registration fee is something like $25, but they do also offer travel awards. And again, great way to visit the Rice campus and get more experience in your chosen field. That's it. Yay. I hope I wasn't too boring and I didn't talk too much.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think all the information was great. So you
Good.
take the time that you needed. Thank you to all, to Manuel, Rosa, Astrid, for reply some questions that were on the chat. So now, I think if you have any more questions, please feel free to raise your hand and you can open your mic, or if you want to type them on the chat, you can do that as well. If you are interested also on keeping up with the process of a doctorate program, or if you have any doubt, you can also contact me. That's my contact information, so feel free to do it. All our services are totally free. And if you're interested in applying to Fulbright, it's about to be open, so follow our social media. We will post the information there as soon as the convocatoria is open. So I'm going to stop sharing, and there are some links that Jennifer posted there, but if there is no more questions, that will be all. Again, thank you all the Rice folks for being here. And yeah, we have one question for Adrian.
Yes, Adrian. Oh, there's a question. I think Adrian put his question in the chat. So is the GRE optional if you submit scores, does that improve your possibility of being selected? And so generally, if your score is a good score, if you're proud of your score, go ahead and submit. I think go ahead and submit your GRE. But know that even if it's waived, just know that some schools may not even look at it as part of the application process. So if you're trying to weigh whether you should take it or not, if they say it's waived entirely, they're probably not going to look at it. If it's optional and you have scores that you're proud of, I don't think it would be a bad idea. But great question. I know it's really, they use complicated language around these and it's hard to figure out what programs mean. It seems like they're intentionally vague sometimes.
Thank you, Jennifer. I think that's it. So with this, we're gonna close the session. Thank you everyone for attending, for being here. Please keep reaching out and have a good one, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mabel. Thanks, Rosa, Astrid, and Manuel. If you're still here, Manuel. Yeah, there you are.
Thank
See you.
you. Take care.